Welcome, everyone. Today is March the 29th, and I'm very excited, and I want to thank everyone for taking their time to listen and watch the video. What I do want to say is I realize that I have so many more followers and so many more new friends that really don't know me. And so it's not about me today. This is about Megan, who I'm interviewing. But what I want to say is you might want to go on to my personal muse. And there I have all of my credentialing, my life experience, everything that I have done, okay? And so today we are on the YouTube with Game Changer, okay? Because Personal Muse is my other website. And I'm all about self-discovery, okay? And so today, Game Changer, the YouTube, Megan, you can show yours.
I've got my copy too.
Is set up, and I'm an author, and I've done other books, but I co-authored Game Changer, and it came out last year, and it's all about self-discovery. Because to me, the most important thing in life is finding out who you are and what your purpose is, and becoming more conscious and growing, okay? And so one of the reasons I chose to interview Megan, and that's what I'm doing now. Everybody knows I do the cosmic cycles, the moons and the planets, but I want to share real life people and how I'm so impressed. And Megan is going to tell you her story, and how I met Megan was through, I only had two really good friends in my life. One was Judy Binder and the other is Lorraine Matheson, okay? Even though I have a lot of friends, okay, I am a very private person. And so I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I would phone my friend Judy, she's in Calgary, Judy Binder, and Megan was working with her at the time. And I'll never forget, she said, I want you and Megan to meet, and you guys are going to be really good friends. And I did, but it wasn't on the happiest occasion, because my dear friend Judy had passed away, and I got a call. I was in Hawaii, December 11th, and I was on the plane in 3 days. And I came back, and that's when I met Megan, and we became really good friends. And Jude is always kind of with us,
Yep, yes.
guiding us. She could be quite a wise, bossy lady. Let's put it that way. So I want to thank everybody. And Megan, I would like you to start your story, because I really respect how you have awakened and your self-discovery journey.
It's been a long journey, for sure. I think my self-discovery journey really started in 2010, 2011, like really, really started. I was kind of brought up in chaos, right? My childhood was chaos, growing up in chaos, relationships were chaos, severed parental ties. I was an adult child, you know, taking care of my grandma when she was ill. It was just her and I living together in our house. And I felt a lot more mature than I needed to be as a child. But I kind of grew up with this armor around me after that, this really thick cast iron armor that made me very, very hard.
Oh, Megan, just let me stop you there. The one thing I do want to say is the big thing. I have not seen Megan since 2017 or 18 physically. We always stay connected. And now I see her physically with Zoom. And I cannot believe the physical difference, which is something you will talk about later.
Yeah, so I've actually lost near 60 pounds in the last 2.5, 3 years. And that's when I really got hit hard with self-discovery. right?
Yeah.
So 2009 through 2010 was kind of the beginning of my journey. And before that, it was all chaos. It was just an entire chaotic cycle that I was living through like a hurricane. And,
So
I didn't.
Megan, how old would you have been then, and how old are you now?
I was about 19 when things started to calm down.
Okay.
Really calm down. I lost my grandmother, and she was a huge, huge, huge part of my existence when I was 17. So in 2005.
Right.
And that was just I was mad at the world. I was mad at everybody. I didn't want anyone around. I didn't want to let anybody in. I can do this by myself because I always have, right? My parents weren't around. My families, we were very close at one time, but when people move on, then things start to change, right?
Yeah.
And as I got older, I started to really realize that I didn't have a childhood. I missed out on a lot of lessons and receiving of tools and things that would carry me through my adulthood. I was missing those fundamental pieces in my childhood. And I didn't realize that until I got older. Right. So now I'm 32 and I'm going, oh my God, like there's still so much more emotional maturity I need to learn and spiritual maturity I need to learn. But it's a journey, right? I never thought at 15 years old, this is where I would be sitting now.
Megan, one of the big things is too, where you are right now at your stage of, what are you, 30, 32?
Yeah, I'll be 32 in a month.
32. You're probably only a small percentage of where that particular age group is, number one. So you've done really well, which you're going to share with us. And number two, you did say when you got Game Changer, and we had talked, there's one particular question that was really important for you.
Yeah.
If you can tell us where you are now, I would love that, because I think that tells the whole story.
Yeah. Well, now I can say I like who I am, right? I haven't always liked myself. And that's the very first question in Game Changer in the self-assessment is, do you like yourself? And it's easy to, I like myself. I'm, this and this and this, or I'm happy all the time and I'm positive and I'm joke teller, whatever. But that doesn't mean you're happy with yourself. And the answer was no, I'm not. I don't like myself. I don't like who I am right now. And was 2017 when I really, really learned that. And since then, it's been kind of a cruise, right?
So tell me about your life now. I'm really excited. I'm so excited for you.
Which part?
Well, it's very interesting because everybody's world is falling apart. Mm-hmm. Physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, whatever. We have this lockdown that we're in. People don't have money. They're not happy with themselves. And it's very interesting because this social isolation, if you want to say, there's a lot of people that I'm hearing from that they cannot stand the person that they're living with.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, yes, it's the time to go within, which you can talk about, but they're doing a lot of Zooming and they're doing a lot of talking. They're doing a lot of drinking. On the other hand, there's a lot of people that are taking this time seriously and doing a lot of self-discovery. And so you see all of those things in order, even as to not having work, but you're taking care of yourself and what you are expanding into doing, Megan. I think that's important.
Yeah, that's, the big thing for me, and some background. So when I was about 10, my grandmother got really, really sick and had to be moved into full-time care. And so she was living at the Foothills Hospital at the time. And so 10 years old, and I've always been, let's be clear, I've always been a rebel with a cause. I've always had an attitude problem. Yeah. Always been overly mouthy and excitable and enthusiastic. Like, that's just me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not a big person, but I'm a big person.
Love that.
for me, it was hard because 10 years old and you're taken away from what you know as life and not understanding. Like my parents, when they had me, they weren't quite ready to be parents, right? They were young, they were immature, they had other things going for them.
Right.
And, so that's who I grew to know and love as my parents, was my Nona. And then being taken away from that, I was pissed right off. Why can't I take care of her? I've been doing this already, and my aunts and uncles always used to tell me when I was growing up, you need to be a kid. Like, you need to be a child. And I'm thinking, I don't need to be a kid. Like, I'm doing this now. It's not a problem, right? What's the issue? So I got mad. My father started a new family with his wife and children. That hurt because it was, well, what was so wrong with me?
Right.
Right? That I didn't get to experience this family. And then with my mom was back and forth. Like, she's from the Philippines, so she did a lot of traveling back and forth to visit family and things like that. And we were just so disconnected. And as I got older, I'm like, this isn't normal. So then it became, and don't forget, around 10, 11, 12, you hit puberty. So I'm hitting puberty on top of this, and I'm just a bulldozer.
Right.
And so I'm pissed off at everybody, everything, and nobody could handle me. Not one person could handle. I couldn't even handle the emotions, the craziness, the instability. And that's one thing I always heard is, she needs stability, she needs stability, she needs stability. Well, what is stability? So anyhow, I tried living with my dad and his wife, and that didn't work out. Lived with my mom, and that didn't work out. At that point, I was so beyond angry that there was no helping me, right? I'm stubborn. I'll do it myself. So at 13, I was put into foster care.
Right.
And really nice lady. Her name is Terry Brome. And I think she's passed on now. She was close to 70 when I first lived with her. And
Right.
she was a take no shit from anybody kind of woman, right?
Right.
If there's rules, there's things, you abide by these rules or that's it.
Right.
You go. So I started to learn what stability meant living with her, because I was there for about 3 years, close to 3 years.
So she had structure and she had expectations of you.
Yep. And discipline.
And discipline. Okay.
But it was more than that. She saw me as a human being.
Right.
She didn't see me as, oh, well, she's a troubled kid and this, or her parents, this and this.
Right.
And she doesn't have any place to go, or she didn't place any judgment on me.
Right.
She saw I was a kid who needed a little bit of nurturing.
Right.
But tough love nurturing.
Right.
And I'll give it to her. Right. Yeah. And she did. And come high school, I really rebelled against Terry, against my family, against everybody. And I was about 15. I said, you know what? Forget everybody. I can do this by myself. I don't need any person to help take care of me, right? So I bounced around between friends and I got 2 jobs, dropped out of school, and just supported myself, right?
And you're 15.
15, 16, about that.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember, and it was bad. Like, I don't recommend anybody doing it because it was bad. It was, it was hard. It was really hard. I slept in my friends' cars in the winter when I had nowhere to go. I slept on the side of a friend of mine's garage, in between the fence and the garage.
So, and so now owning your own beautiful home at your age is very important.
Well, and those were big lessons for me, right?
Yeah.
When I was about 16, and this would have been before my grandma passed away, when she was living in the Foothills Hospital. If I had nowhere to go, I would bus up to the hospital and I would spend time with her until visiting hours were over. And then I'd go into the main area there. They had bathrooms in the main elevator area there. And it's all revamped since then. And I'd sit in the stall and I'd rest there. And then when it started to open up again at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'd go back up and see my grandma. And then I'd get on a bus and I'd figure out my next place to go and figure out what I needed to do, right? And I always maintained the same job. As screwed up as that sounds, I maintained the same job.
That was good. So what was the shift from that life? Was when you went with Judy?
Well, it started when my grandma passed away in 2005.
Okay. And her and Judy were very good friends.
They were very, very close friends.
Right.
Very, very close friends. And actually, I didn't see Judy for a long time. It wasn't until about 2007, 2008 that I really reconnected with Judy again.
Right.
From when I was a child, right? Because I was all over the place. I barely connected with my family, let alone our friends and everybody that I grew up with.
Right.
I had to go experience some of those hardships by myself. Right.
Journey.
You know, because then I was always told, if you do this, you're going to do this. You're going to get in trouble. If you break the law, you're going to jail. Like, I spent 3 months in juvenile detention when I was 16 for stealing a car. Right. Right. So
you learned.
But you learn. You learn. I'm always pushing the boundaries. I'm always pushing the limits. And then once I realize there's consequences, okay, shit, I better smarten up a little bit. Right. And that's what those lessons had taught me, is if you don't, and after my grandma passed away, is if you don't get your shit together, and this was a conversation I would have with myself, because I'm my own parent, don't forget, is you need to smarten up. This is enough.
So it was a process of understanding. You had to have discernment with the choices and decisions you made, because you were responsible for yourself.
Right. And then where was that?
That was grandma. So then.
That was grandma.
So then you, I think it was then that you kind of got involved with Judy.
Well, and that was through my aunt. So my Aunt Sharon, my dad's sister, we were very, very close at one time, you know. She always looked out to make sure, and all my aunts and uncles did. It was kind of like I was raised by a community, right?
Which is
along with that, though, everybody has their opinions and how you should do things and the criticism, stuff like that. So that's hard to take from a group of people. But my aunt at the time was opening her own salon, her own hair salon. And she was doing weekly cleaning over and helping out Judy. Like, our families have stayed really close over the years. And, you know, she maintained that closeness. And so she would go there once a week. But as her schedule started to increase with clients and working at the salon, she said, you know, why don't you take this on? And so every Thursday, I was just going to clean.
At Judy's.
Big house. And that was the very beginning of that relationship. Right. Yeah. That powerful relationship. She was a very powerful woman. Right. You know, those were some of the greatest moments of my life. Some of the conversations that we had, some of just the closeness. And at that point, I was in the cast iron shell. Right. I was in the cast iron shell. And she actually really helped me to start removing some of the armor. Right. And started to she saw me as a human being as well, and as a person. And she found me interesting, and she'd tell me more, and, you know, and she'd laugh, you did not do that. And I did, you know, and started to really help me. This is what she did for me, is help me be okay with myself. Right. And that was the beginning. That's not to say that I haven't been on other journeys since then. Right. I mean, she passed away in 2009. And I think from 2010 to about 2015, I really started to go backwards. in, you know, I don't need anybody. I can do this on my own. And I still had that survival cast iron on.
But at the same time, Megan, that's when you now actually went to work for Ava Max.
Yeah.
So the internal part of you still had that, but the external part of you now stepped out and said, I'm now going to even be more responsible and create a life for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Along with, and don't get me wrong, destroying things in the process too, right? Trying to figure myself out. I've struggled with addiction over the years. I've struggled with, you know, any form of addiction, whether it be food. Alcohol was a bad one. Like that. Terrible. Work, you know, I would go to work 3 o'clock in the morning, all crazy hours of the day and night. And I wasn't observing myself. I wasn't being my own observer. I was operating, just going through things, through brick walls. I can do this, not a problem. And I developed this ego, right? I developed this ego of, well, I can do this, not a problem, right? And I had to take that armor off. I had to do an inventory, because the first question is, do you like who you are? And the answer is no.
Right. And the whole thing is, Megan, you have studied, you have worked with astrology as a self-discovery too, and numerology. You've recently got involved with
Genekeys,
which is about ego and shadow and that type of thing. And so even though you were like this, just going out, there was still a part of you that was doing your spiritual journey. It's just that you have such an intensity. Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you're finding that kind of balance. And
I'm
so
finding the balance.
then you went to work for Ava Max, and then you proceeded to the point where you are now with the different journeys you've had in your physical, in the physicality of looking after yourself, and now having that home. How did you get to have your own home and to be able to be where you are today, that you don't have a job, but you're financially fine and taking courses and opening a new business?
I decided, you know, when you've had to sleep outside in minus 35-degree weather, you kind of make a decision.
Yeah.
Forget this. I'm never fucking doing this again. This is never going to happen again. And that's one thing that never happened again.
Right.
So, and there are lessons. I make mistakes every single day. Like it's not a light switch went on and, you know, you still have to figure out how to maneuver. But there are pivotal moments like that, you know, pivotal moments that really make you, number one, strong.
Right.
And number two, decide. What I struggle with people that don't know how to make a decision. Because for me, it's an easy decision. Does it benefit you? Does it not? Is this going to harm you or hurt you or help you? It's not a difficult decision, right? But I don't know if a lot of people can make those decisions without having gone through those really tough, situations.
And I think that's really a good skill that you have. It's a skill set. It's even like with you in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Know that the most important relationship is you, and you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So you're not looking to find a relationship with a man where he's going to be your provider and take care of you. And that, no. You would want to have somebody that would be your partner.
If anything, I want to take care of him.
Yeah, but we know but that's the interesting thing. You've had to go through that. Mm-hmm. You've learned that lesson also. And that's why you are sitting where you are right now.
Well, and a lot of it.
Oh, and you have some male friends.
Oh, for sure. Friend. We won't say friends, friend.
Friend.
No, you know, my 20s, and just going back a little bit, because I didn't have those fundamental pieces, emotional maturity, things like that, those kinds of consciousness. I had to learn them all in my 20s.
Right.
So I feel like I'm a little bit late coming to the table,
No.
right?
No.
Because there's certain things that I had to learn in my adult years that I realized those are things, that shit I should have learned when I was 6 years old. You know what I mean? Just looking at that kind of thing. So it's been a process. I'm not afraid to look at myself.
No, I think that's really good, and I think your whole thing about self-mastery is really important. And you see a person for who they really are, not as who you want them to be. You see a situation for what it really is, not as you want it to be. Okay, that's part of the process. So the rose-colored glasses are off, the head is out of the sand, and you see life for what it is. And you're not afraid to embrace it, and you know that you will figure it out. So that's why you can make decisions. Okay, so right now, you are doing what? Tell me about your home. I seen it once.
Oh yeah.
A beautiful home now, Megan. You bought it yourself. You have
I'm in a transformative phase of my life right now when it comes to my career.
Okay.
When I worked at Ava Max, I said, I'm a lifer here. I'm going to be here until I'm 60 years old. Like I'm going to be here forever because I loved it. And I still do.
And what did you do at Ava Max? What is Ava Max?
Oh, Ava Max is a private, well, it's not private anymore. It's an aviation company based out of Calgary. Very big, large corporation. All different entities all over the world, right? It was the school of hard knocks for me. That was my college degree.
Right.
And it was like, I used to say it was like New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
Because it's fast paced. It's get it done. This is things change at the drop of a dime. Like it could be at times complete and utter chaos.
Right.
So for me, I felt at home.
Right.
Right? I love chaos. I know chaos. I can maneuver through chaos. I like when things are broken, so to speak. Not that it was broken, but I like when there are convoluted situations and you get to sit there and figure out how to maneuver through them.
That's interesting because out of chaos can come order.
Opportunity.
Right.
So I see a lot of opportunity in chaos.
Right.
And it was really fun for me to be there. And it was about my 7th or 8th year. And that would have been 2017 when I dropped all the weight. And this is why that was so pivotal. Is because I had a good talk with myself. And I sat down and I said, and I made a lot of bad decisions. I would get crazy and just impulsive. That's one of the ways I would make bad decisions, is because I was so impulsive.
Right.
But 2017, I had a really hard look at myself. And I said, why do you long for chaos? Why do you have to insert yourself in a freaking hurricane all the time, or a tornado?
Right.
Because I was tired. I was tired at that point. I was way overweight. I was 50 pounds heavier, damn near 60 pounds heavier. I wasn't happy with myself. I had piss poor lifestyle habits, and I didn't care at that point. And not only was I starting to feel it, it was being made aware, right? Everybody near me and close to me started to recognize she's not herself anymore. Right. And I recognized that too.
Right.
Because I wasn't happy. I'm a spunky and excitable kind of person. And I just found myself to be really miserable. And so I made the decision. I asked myself, the other question is, how much of what I'm carrying is not even mine?
Right.
Right. How much emotional baggage have I been carrying throughout the years that really I'm not even accountable for? And I started doing an inventory. Am I accountable for this in my life? Yes. No, trash it, right? Be done. And the list started to shrink. And I started to see things differently at that point too. And I would question myself, to this day, I have a lot of family craziness, like with my mom, my sister, my brother, and they're very all excitable people. And I had to really look at how I was responding. Enabling, responding, what's mine, what's not. Do I want to do it because, is it a guilty conscience? Like, are you doing this to help because you don't want to feel guilty? Or what is the deal here? Right. And when I started taking accountability for my own actions and my own emotions and my own thoughts versus trying to help everybody else through theirs, that's when I really started to wake up.
Right.
And next thing you know, 2018, I quit my job. I moved to a different company, which I ultimately ended up getting fired from. Because again, I'm a lot to handle, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine. You don't like it, don't handle me. Right. But I started to lose all that weight. I started to shed toxic relationships and just decide for myself, is this going to harm me or is this going to help me?
Right.
And are you going to accept the help? Because don't forget, I can do this on my own. I'm very independent. Right? I don't like being coddled or handheld or whatever. But one thing I've learned now in the last year, is that I need to learn to be interdependent. I can't do this all by myself. I'm not going to be able to do this alone, right? I'm going to have to take that next step now and move into interdependence. Right? So it's been a huge journey. We're not done yet. But this is that step, right?
I'm all excited for them, for you to share what you're doing now. Now you, beautiful little home. You have your own business that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're
starting
concerned about your finances, and you're looking at different things. You're taking courses.
Yes.
Tell us about that, Megan, because somebody can use your help that's in Calgary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so when I ended up leaving aviation, I had to sit down and really look at what I was doing. What do I enjoy doing?
Right.
I'm not the person that's going to go sit in a classroom for 5 years, get a degree, and sit in another job that I hate. That's not me. I'm a hands-on helper. I'm a doer. That's why production for me was such a good little element.
At this point, I just want to say something. I think one of your mentors was John Binder.
110%.
He was the owner of Ava Max.
Yeah.
Okay.
110%.
Binder had got his certification at SAIT, and a very, very wealthy man with his company all over the world. And he was a hands-on man. Mm-hmm. Didn't need to go to university. And I don't think any one of his adult children did. And they're all very successful financially, emotionally, and physically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's learning responsibility. Like, one thing I really respected with John and Judy Binder is how they taught all of their kids and their grandkids.
Right. Oh, their grandkids, yes.
And their grandkids. Basics, discipline, hard work. Right. All of the Binders are hardworking. Right. And smart. And how to make smart decisions, and it's all a learning thing, but watching them really kind of stirred something up in me, going, wow, like, I think I can build something like that, but this is what it's going to take. So they were very good mentors for me. Right. Very good mentors for me. But yeah, after the aviation stint, I had to sit down and say, what do I enjoy doing? And does it have purpose? because I don't want to do it if it doesn't have purpose. You
Right.
know, I don't want to do it just because some other jackass is doing it. That's not me. I want to be, and if anybody knows me, and for those that do, they know I'm my own authentic self.
Right.
I don't claim to be anybody other than myself. And now and what can I do that really impacts people's life, right? So I took a couple professional organizing courses, some feng shui courses. I'm going to start, we're hoping, going to kick off toward the end of this year, like really tread. But just helping people get organized with their things, with their stuff, with, you know, where you live is where all of your energy is stored. How you have yourself organized speaks wonders to your mental state, to your emotional state. It gives you peace of mind, right? So I want to start by helping people get their lives organized.
Well,
on the
actually,
material sense, but you'd be surprised at how this will affect people on a spiritual and physical level.
right. Well, actually, right now, Megan, that is some of the work that you are doing.
Yeah.
You are being paid to come in and cleanse, declutter, put things away, and that's it. The bottom line is a cluttered house is a cluttered mind.
Exactly.
So people cannot make wise decisions, and that, I mean, and the bottom line is I can go into a house because I'm claircognizant, I've knowing. I can go into a house and I can feel it, and it might look all right, but if you open a cupboard, the thing is falling out. And when I do sessions and readings now, I can be doing a Zoom reading with someone and I can say, oh my God, I can be in your bedroom right now. And I had this experience and I go, you've got 3 laundry baskets, your bed's not made, and it's a mess. And I cannot help you until you get your physical space done. And so you're about helping them with their physical space, then it can move into now the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual.
Exactly.
Wants to go, oh, I'm going to be spiritual. I'm going to go on a work and retreat, and I'm going to get into this chakra, and I'm going to see all this. Just a minute, you come back. We are 3D. We live on this plane. That's where we need to work, Megan. And I think that's a good gift that you do have. Okay.
Yeah. And help people appreciate their own space. You know, the one thing that I find is people are often looking for more. I want a bigger house. I want a bigger bed. I want a nicer car. I want this and this and this. And for me, it's, you know, a lot of the stuff that I have in my house was gifted years throughout my moving, and just things that you know, I bought my bed, one of the biggest purchases next to my house that I've ever made. And that's it. I don't want a new bed. I have this bed. It's perfectly good. And I'm going to treat it well and use it and, you know, make it seem it's taken care of. Why do you need to want more when you don't even appreciate what you already have?
Megan, love it. Love it. And that's appreciating what you have and having gratitude and being grateful. And what you just said, I do have to interject. There's something called hungry eyes. Hungry eyes.
Hungrier than your stomach.
Right. Well, when you're not happy within, you're not fulfilled here, you look outward. I'm going to buy, and we have this online shopping. I'm going to buy, I'm going to purchase, I'm going to eat, I'm going to drink, I'm going to whatever, sex, work, religion, new books, more spiritual.
Oh, you name it. And that's tough on a person that struggled with addiction, for sure. For sure. You know, actually my partner is who really helped me see kind of my growth. You know, we sat down once and he said, do you realize, and just looking around at my house, he said, do you realize that when you were a kid, you were here? He goes, your life's been doing this the whole time.
Right.
Right. Through all the scenarios. And well, you know, I've kind of moved here. He goes, no, you've been on an incline. Like, you need to learn to give yourself credit.
Thank you. Yes.
And you're always on me for that too.
Yeah.
Jude used to get on me. Don't be so goddamn hard on yourself. Well, you know, I could have done this better. I should have done this. I should have done this. I'm my own worst enemy. And that's why, for me, it doesn't faze me what anybody else says. I do have to realize and say that, you know, viewing myself as me and viewing myself as an observer, we're two different people.
Right. So the whole thing though, Megan, is that those are kind of like inner demons that we face. And I've seen the change in you where there's more of a peacefulness, there's more of a gentleness, there's more of a softness that has come out. And I really like the idea about your partner, because Megan isn't one that's going to say, I need to find a partner to take care of me. I need to have kids. I need to have that. I need to have that. She is self-sufficient and is finding her purpose and is working her purpose. She's worked her purpose ever since I've known you. Okay.
Yeah.
And your meaning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has his own life. You have your own life, and you come together and you support each other in your own personal journey.
Exactly. And that's what I believe it should be.
Right.
I don't, you know, I often see people getting into relationships, and it's funny all the time. I have a lot of people who ask me, why aren't you married yet? Why don't you have kids yet? And da-da-da-da-da. But I find that a lot of people get into relationships for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And that would be because of, you know, my parents taught me a lot about that one, is people jump and it's an impulsive decision and they get into relationships for the wrong reasons and ultimately end up having a kid that they don't know how to take care of. They don't like each other, and it becomes, and that's how you want to live in your home. That's how you want to raise a family. No, you know, I believe that partnership is partnership. I do my thing, you do your thing, and our jobs are to make each other stronger and better on our own journeys.
Yeah.
And still have that journey together, but be individuals.
Yeah. So it's a support system on a soul level. And basically that is what Game Changer is all about. Okay. And so in 2000 and probably 8 years ago, but I've been an astrologer for 40 plus years, I've seen all the challenges with relationships, Megan. Okay. And the whole thing is I knew intuitively what the challenges, how intense they were going to be, and the divorce rate and the parent alienation and everything. And the key is to discover yourself. Yeah. So you become, so as a child, you're dependent. You were an old soul that was independent long before. And so you had to learn not about becoming independent. You had to learn how to become interdependent. Yeah. And the biggest thing is the physicality of the body. That was for me something, because people struggle right now a lot with weight, and they think, if I say something, I'm not. It's just, it's very hard on your body. Okay. It is. When you are. And the bottom line is, if anybody is interested in the physicality of the body, if you look at Louise Hay's work, is usually an emotional element. And so it's like just getting in shape and in balance. I think it's about balance.
It is about balance, because it's not just the physicality. You've got your mind exercises you have to do, your spiritual exercises. So it's trying to encompass all three and keep balance. For me, a lot of my physical challenges were mental. Right. They were my mental perceptions, and I was protecting myself, and I was hermiting, and I'd eat the addiction side. I'd eat food. I'm like, oh, well, I can eat again, and I can eat again, and I can eat again. And when you really sit down and inventory, there's no real reason you need to do that. It's all up here for me.
So it was your thoughts. So the whole premise on life is about the 8. there's an invisible world or the spiritual world, and then there is a physical and what we call the mundane world. So once we align and connect with the divine, the higher self, whatever you want to call it, source, whatever, that's not up to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you do that, and the whole premise of AA, the first one is I give up to a higher power. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you start where you talk about becoming your own observer, witness, and become more conscious. You wake up. And as we're moving right now, we're going through a huge wake up. And I've been saying to people since 2007, 2008, and this is a crucial year. Crucial. We're in a crucial moment right now, and it's a huge wake up call. And what I think, Megan, you've helped me and everybody that we're sharing with is to see that it was your journey. And you never claimed to be a victim. You took responsibility. You took ownership. And that's why at the stage of life that you're at, you sit where you are. And so Megan is from Calgary. She has this little business going. You can get a hold of me if you want to get a hold of her.
Absolutely.
And I think it's awesome that you shared, Megan, and you will go on. And I would like to do another session with you next year to see where you have gone from now. We'll put it down in our day timer and what you created, because we are co-creators.
Yeah.
Okay. When we're not creating from ego, when we're creating from our dharma, we find what our purpose and what our meaning is. And it took a lot of time of discerning who you are, what your skills are, what your talents were, and whatever.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest obstacle I've ever actually had to face was myself. Right. The entire time, you know, it's one of those aha moments where you're going, it's not everything. This is me, right? I am my own worst enemy, and I'm going to face my worst enemy and come out on the other side. And that's really all it is.
Right. And that's what I always say. Can you look at in the mirror? And I say every night, can you look in the mirror? And did I deposit or just did I take? And you are not an energy vampire. You are an energy being that is creating your own life and living on purpose, finding meaning, and being very cognizant, being very discerning, all of the things, the words that people use, but they use the words. They don't embody the words and live their life that way, Megan. So I'm just going to close this off. Do you have any kind of last thing?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to doing this again.
I would like to thank you once again, Megan. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. And if you want to subscribe to YouTube, I would really appreciate it, to the channel. And you can put a like for this for Megan. And you can check out my personal muse. And it's a great time to have a session or a reading done, and you can contact me on the personal muse. So much love, many blessings, and please share this with your friends. Thank you.